So we really wanted to kick things off and talk accountability. I feel like this is perfect timing for this call with the new year coming too, because accountability is huge in all of our fitness journeys. And I know, for me, we're going to kind of go around and a lot of us are going to share, but I know for me, it wasn't until I started doing these workouts, first of all, and also getting on these calls where I feel like I finally was able to really hold myself accountable. So anybody want to hop in on that?
I'll start just because I'm going in order of our coaches in the spotlight. So accountability. So we, by the way, if you're new, we do coach open houses every other week, and we really just try to touch on certain aspects of coaching that we feel has helped us in any way, shape, or form, but also just kind of what it's about. And so, like Jenna said, we thought accountability was very fitting just with like the new year coming and everybody trying to figure out how to be more accountable, be more consistent. So we thought it was great because I will personally speak from experience. I've been coaching, by the way, I'm Lauren. Hi. I've been coaching for about 2.5 years now. And just to give you a brief background of where I was before this, I struggled with lots of different issues throughout my, trying to figure out my health and fitness journey for the longest time. Just to kind of make the long story short, I started out with, my house, like where I grew up in really is, my mom, love her to death. She did nothing wrong as a mom, except she definitely talked about dieting a lot. And I think that's just like with her generation. I mean, they were very involved with, all the new diets and all the crazy things. So I feel like that was a hot conversation in our house. And so I kind of grew up as a teenager just thinking that, whenever I felt myself getting fat, which was ridiculous, what I would think that I was fat when I was that age, I would do some crazy cleanse or diet or Google like what Beyonce was doing, just like crazy stuff like that. So that's kind of how I started, not on the best foot, I will say. And so as I was kind of exposed in high school, I did get a little extreme and dealt with an eating disorder for a little bit. And it was tough because my mom didn't really even acknowledge it. She kind of was just like, you're fine. Like, what do you mean? Because I think she was just so consumed with her own dieting that she just thought I was dieting and she thought that was fine. But like mine was like to the extreme where I would eat like celery and an apple for like every meal and then work out for like 4 hours, pretty much every day. And so I went through that, and thankfully, I did have some support of my friends who were strong enough to bring it to my attention that this was probably not healthy. They didn't know what was wrong. And so I think with their guidance and just like bringing it to my attention, I was thankfully able to get out of that obsessive eating at the time. And then kind of went the opposite direction, just unhealthy, not really paying attention to anything that I ate and wasn't really exercising. Anyways, I was an athlete in high school, went to college, played softball, got in really good shape because they made us work out all the time. Wasn't really healthy in terms of eating then. Then I finally quit softball, was done, gained about 20 pounds because I didn't know how to eat. I was eating Jimmy John's and Chipotle every single day and like just a disaster. And so I went back to my obsessive ways because that was the only way I knew how to get back in shape was be super restrictive and super obsessive. And so I did the whole not eating thing again, and it just all kind of spiraled back to kind of how I was. And then I got pregnant and had my first baby, and I ended up having a C-section unexpectedly. I gained about 50 plus pounds with my son because I used my excuse of eating for two. I did that kind of thing. And so when I had him, I had a hard time accepting kind of the weight gain just because I was somebody who was super obsessive for a really long time. So it was really hard for me when I was so critical and nitpicky of myself to, gain 50 pounds and then have a C-section. And it was just really hard. Plus I experienced some postpartum depression where it was just tough to get motivated to do anything really. And then, person that spoke about diets in my household actually did come to my rescue after I had my son, which was my mom. And she talked about me doing like a Beachbody program just so that I could work out from home because I was, too fragile to really like go out. I just wasn't motivated enough to do so. So I started with PiYo, and I started working out. My mom would come over and kind of help me watch Cameron. And then I started feeling good because I was finally doing something that was like uplifting my spirits. And that's where like Jenna messaged me on Facebook because I shared my very first transformation photo because I was actually like proud of something that I did in like a healthy way for once. Because I didn't like restrict myself and be a crazy person like I used to. I finally just worked out and tried my best to eat like, good portions and things like that. So Jenna saw my post and she reached out to me, and I started coaching immediately with her because I felt like I needed something behind me. Like, I'm one of those people that I don't like to disappoint others. So if I have a title of a coach or somebody that people would look up to, I'm not going to let people down. Like, that's just my personality. So when I decided to be a Beachbody coach, I had no freaking clue what I was doing. Obviously, I was not an expert in health. I was a disaster in health, but I decided to take on the coaching role because of those reasons. And I didn't expect what actually happened, which was the community aspect that lifted me up, took me way out of my depression, got me excited, showed me that I could be consistent. I literally have not missed a workout. Yeah, I have rest days and things like that, but I have not missed a workout in like 3 years, like not a workout. I've been on my nutrition. I've figured out how to, live that balanced life without being obsessive and going to the extreme. And I'm telling you, it's all because of coaching. Coaching for me has allowed me to share my journey authentically on social media, which I think is a huge accountability piece, because when I tell people I'm going to do something, I do it. I remember after softball, when I was done with softball and I gained the 20 pounds or whatever, I told all my friends that I was going to run a marathon. And I literally didn't know how, because I hadn't even run like a mile in like a really long time. And because I told my friends that, I ended up doing that. So like, that's kind of my personality. So with coaching, it's almost like you're telling the world what you're doing, and it holds you way more accountable in doing so. Also through that, I became, more of a leader, able to lead others. Obviously, when I started my fitness journey, I was just, meeting people where I was at, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Do you want to do it with me? And then as I developed more confidence and more education through health and how to do it the healthy way, and then trying a bunch of different styles of workouts, getting myself out there, I was then able to be more of a coach. So somebody who could really dive deep into people's hearts and really help them and develop programs for them. And so I started out as like this little delicate flower that didn't know anything. And then through coaching, like really have grown a ton and have become like a boss, like somebody who knows what they're doing, is confident, able to help others. And now I'm here leading this call with you guys. So coaching for me is everything with accountability. And I can tell you this right now, if I quit coaching, yeah, I could probably stick with my workouts, because right now they're just totally like, I don't know, like brushing my teeth now since I've been doing them for so long. But I will be honest, I'd probably fall off a little bit on my nutrition. I would probably not be able to pick myself back up as quickly, because I wouldn't have this community of women. I'm sure these people would still talk to me if I didn't coach, but like I wouldn't be involved in the daily activities. I wouldn't be involved in the daily conversations and really immersing myself in this. So that's how coaching's helped me be accountable. And that's all.
That's amazing. I just love your story, because I feel like you've had so many ups and downs with it, but and especially like the progress pictures you shared in your Instagram stories today, I wish we could pull those up, because it's crazy, the growth that you've made in every aspect. So it's amazing. All right, Elise, will you share your story?
Unmute myself. Can you hear me?
I just unmuted you. You're good.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I am Elise, and I've been a Beachbody coach for a little over a year now. And actually, when I first started with Beachbody, I was not a coach. I was just doing the workouts. And I was actually sharing my journey just for the heck of it, because I'm the type of person, if you don't post it on social media, it never happened. So I was literally like posting my workouts and my food every day. And I had people messaging me like, hey, I want to do what you're doing. So I would then message Lauren and be like, hey, Lauren, I have a customer for you. And she's like, why aren't you coaching? And I'm like, well, I don't know. So then I just kind of like fell into it, and I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. But like before, I'll back up a little bit. Before Beachbody, I literally had 4 gym memberships, like all at the same time. I was going to a boot camp in the morning. We would go to Planet Fitness on the nights that my daughter had cheer. We would go to, what was the other one? Powerhouse. If we had my daughter, because they had a kids, whatever there, where they'd watch your kids while you work out. And we had the Green Y. So if we ever wanted to go there and take my daughter swimming, we could do that. So I was literally paying, I can't even tell you how much money in gym memberships. And I really wasn't getting anywhere with that because I didn't have someone like pushing me. Whenever I got tired, I just stopped. All right, that's enough. You know, my arms are tired, my legs are tired, time to go home. But I started out with the 80-day obsession, and I had amazing results with that. I did that along with the Time Nutrition, and it's by far my favorite program. But I will say, like, if I didn't decide to, or if I hadn't fallen into the coaching position, I definitely would not have stuck with my workouts like at all, because like I said, me posting it, like even before I was a coach, me posting it to me was like, if I don't post it, it never happened. But I see now, like every day when I go to my stories, it's the same people, and it's adding every day watching me. And so when I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do this, because there's people waiting for me to post my story. Like, is she going to work out today? Is she sticking to her meal plan? So that for me is like one of my top, like I make sure to hold myself accountable for posting it on Facebook or Instagram, because I know I have people like actually watching it and to see if I show up. And a lot of it also for me has been like a huge confidence boost. I suffer from PTSD, anxiety, and depression. So I am not the type of person to, one, get on this call and talk. So this is like a huge thing for me. Or to even post myself doing workouts or, you know, sharing my life on social media. So I think another huge thing besides accountability is Beachbody has literally given me so much confidence to step out of my comfort zone and to be able to like share my journey or get on these calls and share my journey with like potential coaches and stuff like that. So I think besides accountability, it's like given me so much more than just that. A lot of it's been my confidence too. So, but I would definitely 100% say if I wasn't in the coaching role with Beachbody, I don't think I would have stayed or continue to stay so consistent with my workouts or nutrition. That's all.
I love it. Yeah. Elise has been with us for a little while. I remember my first, I was like right when I started coaching. I feel like me and you got in contact, and she has been amazing. An 80-day obsession. She kills it. Like a firm believer in that program. So am I. And I just commend you for sticking with it and just being, I don't know. I'm just so happy you're on our team.
Me too. And it's funny that you say that, just, you know, talking about the accountability piece, because I feel like, you know, in our challenge group, so basically we run groups every month where we have check-ins and posts where you can come in and show your sweaty selfie and talk about what's going well and whatever. And we have some posts where it shows progress pictures. And it's so funny because the last time we did it, I went through and every single person who had posted a progress picture was a coach. And I was like, I'm like, we really want to show some client wins. And I was like, none of our clients have posted. It's all coaches, because everyone, I think it just says a lot about the community that people want to be sharing what they're doing. So,
Great.
All right. Ashley, will you share your story?
Yes. Let me unmute myself. Can you hear me okay? Okay. I tend to go off on tangents, so I typed this up, so just bear with me. So let's see, where do I want to start here? I feel like to understand sort of how coaching has kind of kept me accountable, I kind of have to give you a little bit of a backstory about where I was like 2.5 years ago. So technically I've been coaching for probably about 3 years, but I strictly did just discount coaching to get the discounts. And so I'm going to read just because I'll get super sidetracked and this is really emotional for me. So just kind of bear with me. I think it's like really frustrating when you see like somebody who seems to have like an overnight success. And so I kind of want everybody to know like that does not happen. And there's usually a lot of like tears and sweat and pain that comes with that. So that's what I'm sharing with you. So for those of you that don't know, I'm an audiologist, which means I have my doctorate degree and went to school for 8 freaking years and paid a boatload of loans. About a year ago, I'd been at a job that I hated, and I was there for about 2.5 years. It was poor management, poor communication, unrealistic expectations from the ownership. I had tons of pressure on me to just pretty much be perfect, and I'm already a perfectionist, so that derailed my mindset completely. I was even to the point where they were comparing me to the owner of the practice, and I had that daily reminder at least once a week, if not more. The environment that I was in was completely negative, and I'm definitely the kind of person that I fuel off of those around me, and I also try to like pour myself into people that I'm around to like instill positivity, but this was like all negative. I've had anxiety my entire life, but being in this environment where I was being constantly compared to someone else, or I was kept being told like in a passive aggressive way that I just wasn't good enough, really kind of just put my perfectionism cap back on, and it sort of ruined the next 3 years of my life. So when this happened, I kind of started tearing apart every little bit about me. I would come home and pour everything from the day into my husband, who also had a long day, and here I am just like giving him everything. I would cry myself to sleep. I had anxiety attacks before bed. And then I started saying very negative things about myself. Like, I can't do this. I'm too much, I don't know. I can't think of an example, but everything that I would say was something negative about who I was as a person. And I even started questioning whether or not I was a good friend, whether I was a good wife, like, was I really a good audiologist? And it got to a point where I remember like driving to work thinking that like if I just got into a little bit of a car accident, like enough to make me have to go to the ER just so I could get out of work, or at least go home because I had to work on car repairs or anything to kind of get me out from going into that job. But I didn't want it to be serious enough to like truly hurt me. My stomach was in knots. Like every morning I would walk in, and I was never diagnosed, but I swear I had IBS. Because right before I would bring a patient back, TMI, but I like had to take the biggest shit of my life. And it was awful because I'm in this office. That was embarrassing. But my mindset was terrible. And when I was emotional, I would always resort to like pizza, grilled cheese and tomato soup, some sort of takeout, and alcohol. And it really didn't take much for me to like convince my husband to do that because I'm sobbing. So he was going to do like anything possible to make me feel better. So anyway, it got to the point where like my digestive issues were terrible. Every time I ate anything, I immediately felt sick. I constantly had a headache. My stomach was constantly in knots. My husband and I like stopped having sex because I like didn't even want to do that. I just had like, I was a mess. My family all lives in Ohio, and so like I never get to see them. And when I would talk to them on the phone, immediately they were like, "What's wrong? You're not okay." Or and I wanted to talk to them as like an outsource and a release, but they almost constantly reminded me that I was miserable. And so I had it coming from all ends. So anyway, fast forward, I was in that job for about 2.5 years. And then when this past January rolled around, I remember being in like my bathroom mirror in a bra and underwear, like getting ready for the day. And I just started sobbing because I had gained so much weight, but I didn't look fat or heavy. I just looked miserable. Like I looked heavy with emotion. And if you've been there, like I hope you might know what that means or feels like, but I was disgusted. And then so I reached out to Jenna. Jenna and I have been friends for like 12 years. And I just kind of like as a friend moment, but I was like, this is where I'm at right now. And like, I don't know like what I'm like, I don't know what to do. And so her advice was like, actually have like an active role in coaching. And at the time, I thought, like, why the hell would I do that? I was super depressed. Like, being on social media and sharing that to me almost felt like it would be looked at like a cry for help and attention, and that's not really what I wanted. But I did it because she knows me better than most people. So I was like, well, I don't have anything else to lose, so let's give this a try. And did I already get through all that? I think so. Yeah. So anyway, so that's what kind of got me into it. So come January, this was last year, Transfer 20 was coming out, and I decided to like go all in. I just started sharing everything, and I had to be careful with what I posted because I was still at this job. And so I took an active role in coaching, sharing, reaching out to people, connecting, and just kind of being true, even when that was a very depressed me. And these are the kind of the reasons I think that coaching sort of helped me stay accountable. And there's a few things that I think I like want to point out the most. So as a coach, there are like vital behaviors that we all follow. And one of those, and essentially that's just behaviors that you do as a coach to make sure that you're the best person for yourself, but also the best to be able to help somebody else. And one of those that was like a life changer still to this day for me was personal development. And I always thought those were like super cheesy books. I called them self-help books. I was almost embarrassed to say that I was reading them. Like even in front of my husband, I was nervous to tell him I was going to go buy this book. But I started doing it and like adding it in. And I read a lot of books in the beginning that started with like perfectionism and managing anxiety and leadership, because I knew there was a disconnect with how I was being led and I needed to like switch that. So that's what I started, and I would never have done personal development if it weren't for coaching and these behaviors. So that was like the first one in terms of like how that's kind of kept me accountable. But then I also had to share stuff on social media, and I didn't even have an Instagram a year ago. So I was really not comfortable sharing anything, but I knew that as a coach, that was sort of what you had to do. And so because I posted, this is what I'm doing, I kind of like Lauren, I didn't want to let anybody down. I already put out there to the universe that this is what I was doing. So I best show up, or otherwise I'm a failure. And I used to be terrified of failure. Now I know that that doesn't really exist. But at the time, that's kind of how I felt. So I was like, well, now I have to just be there and show up. So that was something else that did it for me. And then I also think going back to the community, because I signed up for this program that had just launched, there were so many people on our team that were doing it. So it gave me that, and that's constantly happening with Beachbody. So it's that constant like community and building that you can get. Through Beachbody, I was able to get like certified through the nutrition program, which really helped me kind of understand what and how to eat. And without coaching, I never would have had interest in doing it. And I took an interest in getting the certification to help my clients, but it ultimately ended up helping me in like recognizing emotional eating and all of these things that I had dealt with forever. And then participating on these calls. So like some of these calls, we talk about business stuff, and some of it we talk about mindset and fear and failure of success and concept of limiting beliefs and all of these concepts that we all probably spew like it's any other word that you would speak every day. And to a lot of people, it doesn't mean anything. So it's kind of helped me learn to sort of think bigger, think broader, dig deeper. And I never would have been challenged to do any of those things without coaching. So with all of that, almost a year in the making now, I got the courage to quit my job. So I quit this past May. I took like 4 weeks off. We went to Barbados. I just shut down, rebooted. And I guess I'm doing personal development every morning. My workouts are like, kind of like Lauren said, it's like brushing my teeth in the morning. I don't even think about it. I'm practicing gratitude, which is another thing I would never have done without coaching. And my mindset is just totally different. And I kind of started to realize all of these limiting beliefs I had about myself when I was at this job weren't really true. So I don't know. I kind of want to leave everybody with this. And Lauren kind of pointed this out as well. But you don't have to have it all together to start coaching. And if you do, that's fantastic. But most people don't have something together. And I think that's what makes your experience with other people like more valuable. But there's also so much like we can continue to learn about ourselves, and taking that leap of faith to show you that there are things that are possible that maybe you never thought were. And so I now switched jobs. I'm still, thank God, I went to school for 8 years for something that I actually do love. So this process kind of helped me come back full circle to recognize that I love coaching, but I never want to quit my job. And so you might talk to some of the girls tonight, or they're your coaches that are doing this full time, and you don't have to do it full time to do it. So I'm working full time as an audiologist, but I'm doing this kind of on the side because I think if I quit this, I'll quit myself. And I like to think that I'm stronger than that, but it's something that I enjoy that kind of keeps me going and showing up. So that's my story.
Oh, you just like inspire me every time you tell your story and bring that up.
Me too.
Like,
I feel like we've heard it a lot just because we do these all the time, but I feel like I can keep hearing it.
I know.
Yeah.
It was hard writing that.
Gosh, I bet. Well, just the fact that I mean, I feel like coaching really kind of helped give you the courage to quit your other job
Yeah.
and do that personal growth and take that leap of faith in it. Because I mean,
well, it's crazy. Like, and I didn't bring this up, but like affirmations, especially with this new program that's coming out, and like we're doing affirmations every day. Like that's how I would get through work meetings. I would set an alert on like a timer on my phone that would go off periodically through the work meeting that would pop up with an affirmation just to kind of get me through, because it was so negative. And then when you surround yourself with negativity, it's kind of hard to not let it affect you.
You know, the favorite part of what you said tonight, though, is you were saying that you used to tell yourself all this negative stuff, and then you're like, I can't even think of an example. Like, how amazing that you can't even think of a negative thing you used to say. Like that right there shows how much growth you've made.
Yeah, for sure.
Love it. It's amazing. All right, Erin, would you like to go?
All right, there we go. So I have been coaching since I think February, so like 10 months now. Basically all my life I had been known as the like superstar runner and the smartest kid in the class, and that was basically my identity. I went off to college and I ran in college, and I still had my 4.0, and that was who I was. And then in May of 2017, I graduated, and I no longer was a competitive runner. I no longer had school to define me, and I was basically lost. The only thing I had was that I knew I was going to PT school, or for physical therapy. And so that summer I started school, and it was awful. Everything was just so difficult for me, and I didn't feel like that was the place I was supposed to be, but I pushed through it and basically was just miserable. And then the next summer I finally just decided this is enough, and I dropped out of school. And at that point it was like my lowest of lows. Like I had nothing going for me, at least I thought so. I was just so down in the dumps because I literally was now a college dropout, and I had been known as the smartest person in school, and I hadn't really been training, so like my running wasn't going well, and I was just like, not a good time. But then let's see here, Elizabeth, who is my awesome coach now, her sister was in PT school with me, and I had seen like some pictures of this workout that she had been doing, and she was just getting really good results. And so I messaged her, and then she connected me with her sister Elizabeth, and that's how we all got started. I started out as just a challenger and really just wanted to kind of get some definition and just some kind of workout program going, because that's what I was used to in college, and then try and get like my health somewhat in check. So I did that and got really good results. And at the end of Lift 4, she asked if I wanted to coach. And so this was in that January, February, March, whatever. And I did. And after signing up as a coach, I really started actually documenting my journey. And that's when I actually started posting it like on Instagram, and people saw what I was doing. And even just that like act of daily posting held me so accountable. Plus, like the workouts are kind of like, at least the program I'm doing right now is like 8-day obsession. And so like you have a workout for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And just having that consistency and kind of like knowing in my head of like, okay, well, this is Monday's workout and today's Monday, so I'm doing this workout today. That has just really helped. And even just like our team page, like we had said, you can have your check-ins and whatnot and see who's working out, who's not. The accountability piece, though, I've really seen it in these past 2 weeks. I really experienced seasonal depression, and that has been really kicking in, as well as PMS. It's the week before, the week of, the week after. You get one good week in a month. Yeah. And so I've really just been kind of down in the dumps, and I did take a couple of days off of working out, but then I basically was just all right, even if I don't move today, I'm just going to get this workout in. And just having that consistency in my life has really just helped bring me out of it. And yeah, I guess this team's just awesome.
I love you, Erin. I just love that everybody starts somewhere different in terms of their journey. And it's crazy to think that, you're oh, a person who's super into running, how are they not consistent? Well, when you get out of your normal groove and you're not around your normal environments, those triggers that used to inspire you and motivate you are no longer there. And it's how do you find a different trigger to get you excited, to get you motivated? And I think with coaching, it's the team, it's the showing up on Monday night calls, it's the expecting to post in our Get Your Fit Together group, because like Jenna said, most of the people who post in there are coaches, but it's challengers who turned into coaches. And it just shows that trigger of I'm a coach, I have this title, even if it means to you just I want to show myself that I'm able to do this. Don't think of it as if you're kind of nervous about well, I don't know how I'm going to coach all these people. Well, first off, back it up, because you're probably not going to coach all these people at the beginning. You're going to coach yourself in the beginning through being with the community. And so that's kind of what I know we all had to learn at the beginning, because, you can get excited and you're oh, well, maybe I'm going to help all these people. But if you can't help yourself, then you're not going to be able to help others. So I think leaning on the team and doing this kind of stuff really helps.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I think so too. Okay, so I want to share my story now. So I'm Jenna, for anyone who has not met me, and I've actually been coaching for 4 years. And I want to take this back though to my early teens, because I think you kind of, like they've said, you need to see the whole picture, I think, which is hard to do in an hour-long call when 6 of us speak, but we're going to try. So I was actually 14 years old when I joined Weight Watchers for the first time. And I joined it with my mom. And similar to what Lauren said, our moms obviously meant no harm by any of this. And it was something I wanted to do. But mentally, that screwed me up more than absolutely anything in my entire life, because my entire self-worth was dependent upon what my weigh-in was that week. If and not only that, but I remember going into these meetings at age 14. I was a freshman in high school, and we would not eat all day. I wouldn't drink water. I would wear the same outfit because I didn't want my clothes to affect the scale. And I would step on that scale and I would be ecstatic over losing 0.2 pounds. Whereas now, if I even weigh myself, I can gain 4 pounds in a day and it not even faze me. I just know so much more about how your body is, reacts to everything. But at the time, I was thrilled about 0.2 pounds in a week. And then the crazy part of this is we would go home and eat ice cream to celebrate. That was my mental strategy with all of this. And I actually pulled out one of my favorite trackers. If you follow my Instagram stories, you've probably seen this. But one of my favorite days was, I just can't wait to read this to you. So here's what I ate in a day. And I was proud of myself on this day because I was on track. I had cereal, waffles, fruit, and a brownie for breakfast. For snacks, I had a brownie, and then I also had another brownie. For lunch, I ate a tomato sandwich and a brownie. Then I had a sub. I had a salad and ramen noodle salad. I don't even know what that is. Then I worked out and I ate cauliflower because that was the first time I had a vegetable other than my tomato sandwich, but that doesn't really count. Then for dinner, I had apricots and a brownie. And then I did Pilates so that I could get back to my points for the day. So like this right here is the prime example of like just where my mentality was. And I thought that this was what I needed to do for the rest of my life. And so when I would go out to eat, when I would have plans with friends, like it just would crumble because I was so worried about that scale and how my clothes fit and what I looked like. And I remember I would sit on my bedroom floor in my bra and underwear and like make sure that I didn't have a roll on my stomach. And if I did, I would like cry while I got ready for the day. So that was my high school experience. And I actually, right now, just to give you a more of an idea, I don't even know what I weigh, to be honest with you. I'm above 150. I'm somewhere around there. I haven't weighed myself in probably 6 months just because I don't care. And I go by progress pictures and how I look, how I feel, all of that, how my clothes fit. And that's something that honestly, without coaching, never would have happened for me. And, I tell you that because it's come so far. And so, thinking about the whole Weight Watchers thing and just being so all or nothing, now it's gotten to the point where, Lauren and I have taken that and actually taken our coaching experience and created a whole nother business out of it. So we're going to get there in a second. But anyway, so I went into the teaching profession because I always had this innate, like, I want to help people in my soul. Like I always knew I wanted to do that. I actually started off as a nursing major and I only went to classes for 3.5 weeks before I just stopped going because I hated it. I got the worst GPA of my entire life, my freshman year of college, first semester, because I hated my classes. So I quit nursing, switched over to teaching, graduated, got a job my first year out, and I was really happy until I got moved to a position where at the time I didn't know what the issue was. And I think without doing all this personal development and personal growth and like really self-reflecting, like now I'm able to say this was my issue. The biggest problem was that I was stripped of all my leadership abilities and capabilities. And anytime I would have an idea, it'd be shot down. I wasn't able to be creative. Like I got stuck and it was just the situation I was in, but I got stuck in this: show up every day, close your door, do your damn job, and don't come up with any new ideas. No one cares. No one wants to hear them. Done. And I know there were people who did care, but there was no opportunity for me to be a leader and act on that. And so I started developing anxiety. Same as Ashley, I had a situation my last year of teaching where I actually called my husband and told him that I had planned to wreck my car into a telephone pole, because doing that was better than going to work and showing up there for at least a couple weeks. And I think the craziest part about that is the only reason that I didn't do that was because of coaching. Because I had started doing my workouts, I'd started staying consistent. And like they said, like, I don't like to let people down. I'm going to show up every damn day and be me, be genuine, be real, whatever that looks like in that day. And because I didn't want to let people down, not even my clients, just people who were following me on Instagram, that was why I didn't wreck my car. Because in my head, I was like, well, I can't work out and I can't be on Instagram and I can't be with my team if I'm in the hospital. So I'll just go to school. And I'm like, that right there is such a bigger purpose than just Beachbody, than just coaching. And I think that's an aspect that a lot of us don't get the chance to talk about or don't share on the daily. Because I know for me, if it weren't for doing all the personal development and personal growth and all of that Beachbody has given me, and really, like Ashley said, it's one of our vital behaviors to read personal development. And I laughed at self-help books for years. I didn't want to do that stuff. And now it's completely changed my life. And so, along with the accountability, it's given me confidence for sure, because it's funny. I look back at some of the videos I posted 4 years ago and they're so bad. They're so funny, but with consistency, you gain confidence, you get better over time. But I think it helped me figure out what my purpose was in life, because I've always wanted to help people. Like I said, nursing was not it. Teaching, I loved, but it wasn't what I could see myself doing forever. And without coaching, I wouldn't have realized that. And so now, I'm able to use Beachbody, use the workouts, use the supplement, use the nutrition plans to help clients. But we've also got some mindset coaching, some life coaching, some other avenues that we've created. And I never would have had the confidence or even the the mindset to go in that direction if it weren't for everything that I've gone through with this. And it all started with doing my workouts and showing up on social media, and that was it. So that's my story.
Yes. And I will say, if Jenna wouldn't have coached, I wouldn't have coached, you wouldn't have coached, because none of y'all would be here and on our team, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And one other thing I was going to say that I do love about Beachbody, and I think what helps with the consistency of it, is that they come out with new programs so often. And as a coach, you want to do the newest program. You know, you want to be excited about that. So it constantly is forcing you to keep your shit together because you're doing the new program so you can talk about it. And I think, you know, you do that long enough and your workouts just become ingrained in your daily habits. And then you do personal development enough, that gets ingrained. Get your nutrition in line, that gets ingrained. And then all of a sudden you over time become this new version of yourself that you didn't even know existed. And that's definitely what happened for me.
Well, I want to touch on one thing before Jenna goes. This is the last thing I say, then we'll let Jenna speak. So a couple of things that just sparked into my head. We're speaking of personal development. I'm reading The Entrepreneurial Roller Coaster right now, and so is Jenna. And a couple of things that they mentioned of, like, when you go to look for a job, the few things that people really look for in terms of, like, I want to work there. And the number one thing is people. So people want to work with other good people. So great people want to work with great people. The second thing was a challenge. And with Beachbody, they're always coming out with new workout programs. And it's always a challenge for me to be able to conquer the next one that they have. So people crave a challenge. People crave opportunity, a place where they can move up in the field that they're working in. And with Beachbody, there's so many ways for you to move up and to level up into new leadership roles, taking it in different directions, just like Jenna and I did. You know, a lot of us are kind of doing our own thing, whatever, but, like, there's so many ways for you to level up. The other part was growth. So basically, when people are looking for a job, they want to know that their job's going to help them outside of their job. So it's not just focused on work only, like, what's that job going to benefit me outside the workplace? And then the last thing is money. So ranked, it's people, challenges, opportunity, growth, and then finances is the last reason people pick their job. And if you've ever noticed, if you pick your job finances first, it usually sucks because you put that first. And so I just wanted to stress that, because if that is something that intrigues you, Beachbody offers all of that in terms of coaching. So now let's shoot it over to Jenna Brown.
Hello. Okay. Hi. So I am Jenna Brown. There's a lot of Jennas around here. You'll find out soon. I've loved everything that everyone shared. I'm kind of going to share, like, a little bit different even approach, because I feel like my story is a little bit different. But for me, growing up, I was, like, active as you would be as a child. I played sports and stuff, but I've always been really thin. And I actually was, like, shamed all the time growing up for being really skinny. So people would always be commenting on my body. Boys would make fun of me in school. And then when I was in high school, I, like, kind of got curves and boobs and all the things. And basically, like, I worked out all the time so that I could keep up my physique. So it was just really, like, whatever I needed to do to keep my body, because that's kind of, like, where my head was at. Fast forward, anyways, I kind of transferred out of that very shallow approach to life, I would say. But I just, like, wasn't really active at all. Like, I would run every week or maybe twice a week or something like that, but I had no idea, like, what I needed to do for my body or anything like that. After, I'm a mom of 3 kids, and so after my second, I started working out more regularly, just basically running. And I actually decided that I was going to train for a half marathon, so I started training for a half marathon. I think it's super interesting because if anybody else in here has ever done, like, a 5K or anything like this, it's really interesting when you go from working out as, like, a 3-time-a-week thing to, like, an everyday routine. I think it's, like, a game changer. And I don't think I would have had that specific aspect if I wouldn't have been coaching. because obviously we're showing up every single day, showing our workouts, showing our personal development, showing our gratitude, showing our whatever our spiel is, and like our daily lives. So obviously it's this whole other element of accountability. And I never would have known like what that would have done to my mental state unless I would have done it daily. So anyways, back to when I was training. So I've been training for a half marathon, and I basically found out I was pregnant. I didn't know I was pregnant again with my third, and I was 7 weeks pregnant, and I ended up getting a UTI and going septic from it. If you don't know what that means, basically I was dying. So I was hospitalized, and like it's a miracle that I lived through that. And it was this crazy freak health crisis that I like miraculously lived through. And then also my baby, who was only like a 7-week-old little babe inside, which is crazy and amazing. And now she is 8 months old, and that's awesome. And I'm super happy about that. Well, I had like an absolute hell of a time recovering from this illness. And basically, like, if you don't know anything about sepsis, which most people don't, post sepsis is like really serious, and like your risk of infection is like super high, and basically you like have to like live as a hermit. And a lot of people like that I would get to know would be like, oh, I'm 20 years post sepsis and I like can't move, I can't go up the stairs, I'm on disability, I'm in chronic pain, da 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 da. Anyways, I was like, oh my gosh, this is my future. Like, this is awful. Like, my whole life is ruined, basically. And a big thing with sepsis is basically your brain, like part of your brain dies. So this sounds crazy, but when I was going through recovery, I like couldn't read anymore, and I couldn't write. And I also had a really hard time speaking because I couldn't, like, I didn't know the right word where it was supposed to go, if that makes sense, when I was talking. So anyways, that's really in depth. But a big thing for me in getting back on track after I had my daughter was like 6 weeks after I had her, I'm like, okay, like health is my number one priority. Like I almost lost my life, and like I want to preserve my life, and I want to be as healthy as I can be. I want my brain to heal. I want my body to heal. So I'm going to be like all in with my nutrition, with my everything. Like it was just very different for me. It was not like I'm working out to get like my body back. Like I could have cared less about like what my body looked like. It was so important to me what I felt like, because I had been laying in bed for a year at that point, because I had to. And so finally I got the doctors, okay, like you can get up and you can move. And I was like, let's do this. So anyways, I like right away signed up to be a coach back in July. I think it was July. Yeah. And I was just basically like, well, I'm sure like I'll invite people into this. And I actually had run a nonprofit, so I had like a following, and I was like, I'm sure other moms are going to follow me in this, and da 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 da. And basically it wasn't until I got into it that I really like saw the benefits of what coaching is, which I say to a lot of people when I'm talking to them about coaching, of like, it's almost like you can't see the gold mine it is until you're inside of it, because you don't know how your brain is going to change. You don't know how your like motivation is going to change. And you just like really don't know where it can take you until you say yes to that first step. It opens up that door of possibilities. So anyways, so I've been coaching since then, and I think it's really interesting because I always say this thing, like I always forget that people aren't wired the exact same way that I am, which is like duh, but like I am a very self-motivated person. So like I've been an entrepreneur for 7 years. I'm like super like, if I say I'm going to do something, it's like written in stone. Like I am determined to a fault, I would say, like, which is my personality type. So I like really do well with my own expectations. So I'm like a weirdo that would be like, this is my goal, and like I have to meet it. Or, but also like other people's expectations of me. So definitely like what everybody else was saying, I want to show up every day for other people as well, because I know they expect that of me. But I was going to kind of point out that that might be something to think about of how you feel about coaching. So if you're a person who's like, well, I'm not like that person that sets a goal and then like I actually stick to it, or like I never finish my New Year's resolutions or whatever, like coaching is perfect for you. It sounds weird because I think people want to have that like solidified and set in stone of like, I always follow through. but like that really won't be that way until you have that expectation of others on you, if that makes sense. And I think that like most people assume that to be a coach, you have to be naturally self-motivated, but that's really not the case. And then also, if you are naturally self-motivated or not, it's such a gift to be able to be that motivation for other people, which I would have never seen unless I really got into coaching. Again, like I said, I'm like, isn't everyone wired the same way as me? Like, no. Oh, okay. I just like couldn't imagine like starting Morning Meltdown and not finishing it, because that's who I am. And then I realized as I'm coaching all these people through it, I'm like, oh, like this is really hard for some people to finish. And so it became such a gift for me to walk alongside people in that process and holding them accountable. And then even seeing some of them become coaches and like flourish has just been super cool. But I think that it's really good to, one, not get down on yourself of how you're motivated and like maybe your lack of like success in the accountability department on yourself. And don't let that come into play here, because this is a whole different venture in it. And two, know that actually coaching is probably going to be super beneficial for you if you struggled in staying accountable to your goals and to your like health and fitness goals in the past. So yeah, I think that was all I was going to share, but I was going to tell you too, there is a quiz. This is super random, but there's a quiz that I was going to say that people could send to you if you're interested. But basically it talks about the 4 ways that people are motivated. And it was super helpful for me to read. It's like a 10-second quiz you take online, but it might be helpful for you to see how you're motivated. And it also might kind of help this make sense as we're all talking and see yourself in some of our stories, but also then helping with your future clients when you coach, because you'll see that people are motivated differently and you meet them where they're at. And yeah, so I hope that helps. And that's all I had to say.
I love it. I love that you give them action steps, because I feel like that's always what I'm looking for in these kinds of calls too. It's like, okay, well, give me something to do. So if you want that quiz, Jenna did post that in our team page. So all of us coaches on here have access to it. So we can copy the link to that and send that your way if you are interested in that. So just let us know. Well, thank you everybody for sharing. I love the coach open houses. I get just as much out of it being a coach than those of you who aren't coaches watching this. It lights a fire in me every single time and brings on the week. I'm really confident and excited to do this. So I don't know about you guys, but these calls, they mean everything to me. And even though it's 8 p.m. at night and, you know, we could probably be binge watching Netflix, I would rather be doing this for sure. So thank you guys for being on here. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
This is always the most awkward part.
I just want to see it. I want to like just see how long we can be silent for.
All right, let's try. Does anyone have any comments, questions?
I'll say something.
Okay, great.
Hey, I just want to say, like, this is super awesome, like a great community, like just to hear everyone's stories. And like, you guys all touched on so many different things. Like, we all kind of can relate in different ways, but like, you know, it's kind of therapy. Just like, not only this, but like just getting it off your chest and like who you're really trying to like impress anymore. Like, you're doing it for yourself. And, you know, I can tell like everyone feels so much better about themselves since becoming a coach, because you're kind of forced into, you know, these like weird scenarios where you have to tell people about your lives and be you and be like, I don't know, just realistic. And I don't know, but I thought it was really cool. And it's really, you know, it makes me feel really proud to have joined this community. So, and I'm excited to see where it's going to take me. And like, when I start sharing my stories, maybe opening up a little bit more to people and, you know, getting less scared and getting better about talking about it. And, you know, you guys sound so confident when you talk about it, because you've been saying it and maybe enhanced more on each story every time you tell it, and it just gets out better and better, and you just feel more relief the more and more you say it, I'm sure.
And
so.
Well, and that's so true, because Holly, I mean, welcome to the team. You've been a coach for like 4 days. but yeah, I mean, I think where I started is just leaps and bounds behind where I'm at right now. And I always just kind of preface that with the only way that you will not be good at this is if you quit. If you can just commit to still being on this team a year from now, you won't even recognize the person you've become. I can guarantee you that, because you're going to do so much growth and figure out who you are and who you want to be. And I think that's what I love about this, because we are all so different, and it's not like a cookie cutter team. I love that.
Yeah, and that's exactly like what I'm also excited about. It's like not just like, obviously I love a transformation and I'm here to get fitness goals, but like that whole personal growth and development and becoming a better human being, like, yeah, of just who I am and to others, you know, like that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I think too, like, you know, the fitness results are just like icing on the cake. It's cool because those also come. Like, that's not the goal anymore for a lot of us. So Victoria said, I'm new to Zoom, which is why I stayed quiet, but thank you for your stories. You're welcome. Glad that you were here. All right. Any other comments or thoughts from anyone before we jump off tonight? Amy, I know you've been on a few calls. Do you want to share any thoughts you have? I know I'm completely calling you out right now.
Who?
Amy. Oh, she's muted. Hold on. Let me unmute you. I got you. You're killing the work right now.
Yes,
Oh, there
I
she is.
love the workouts. I'm just really impressed with you guys. I've just been watching and keeping up with all of your stories and such. And like I told you before, I think I have the analysis paralysis thing going on where I'm like, oh, I don't know why. This is a group that I think that I'm looking for. Just give me a little more time and let me just keep checking you out. But
that's fine.
I can relate to so many of you guys. It's really, I took notes on each of you, so it's exciting.
Okay, well,
feel free to like reach out to anybody. Like if there's questions or things that you did relate to some of us, like that's kind of why we're here. So
absolutely. And current coaches, can you just wave if you've ever had analysis paralysis where you overthink everything and don't know? Yeah, everyone. Like, but I think the difference is, you know, before, I think everybody has that, honestly. But do you want to go through that alone, or do you want to go through it with a team who gets it?
Right.
And I think, you know, that's what's great about this. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you for spending your Monday with us. It was fun. And if you have questions, let us know. If you want that quiz that Jenna found, let us know that too, and we'll send it your way. So, all right. Can we do a picture? I can stop recording. Hold on.